Hi guys, let us now discuss accounts receivable management. What is a cash discount? It is a discount that a seller offers to a buyer in return of paying the bill within the discount period. An example of this is when the buyer can pay within 10 days, the 10 days which is the discount period, then the buyer can receive a 2% cash discount. So that is how a cash discount works. What are the effects of cash discount? Number one, it increases sales given that customers are enticed to buy the products of the company if they offer a cash discount. Secondly, is it decreases the investment on accounts receivable given that customers are encouraged to pay as soon as possible. If that's the case, or if the customers are encouraged to pay their debt as soon as possible, it will decrease the investment on AR because the company can collect cash as soon as possible. Number three is there is a decrease in bad debts given that we encourage customers to pay as soon as possible. And finally, the effect is, however, there will be an increase in expense. Given that there will be customers who will take advantage of the cash discount, it means that there will be an increase in expense specifically related to those customers who took the cash discount. So those are the effects of cash discount. Let's have an illustration to this. In this problem, Simple Corporation has the following data. Annual sales of 10 million pesos, collection period of 90 days, contribution margin ratio of 20%, opportunity cost in investing in accounts receivable, which is 10%. The corporation is considering a 3/15 cash discount with the following effects. So let us clarify what is this. It means that if the customer can pay within 15 days after the sale, the customer can avail the 3% cash discount. So that is what we mean by the term or by this term. So what are the effects of the cash discount? Number one, it will increase sales by 800,000 pesos. Number two, collection period will be decreased to 75 days. And number three, we will assume that 30% of customers will take the discount. What is the question in this problem? The problem is, should Simple Corporation offer cash discount? So the question is, how do we determine if Simple Corporation will offer a cash discount? The answer is, we will use a cost-benefit analysis. It means that if the benefits are higher than the cost, then Simple Corporation should offer a cash discount. So we will discuss the effects one by one. So first is we have increase in sales. There will be an increase in sales worth 800,000 pesos. However, we need to be aware that if sales will increase, the variable cost or the total variable cost will also increase. Therefore, in analyzing the increase in sales, we need to consider the contribution margin. Kasi, pag sinabi nating contribution margin, na-deduct na dito yung variable cost. So that's why we will multiply 800,000 times 20%. So the effect is positive 160,000 pesos. Secondly, is we have cash discount. Take note that cash discount is an additional expense to the company. It is an additional expense to the company. How do we solve this? 3%, which is the cash discount, times 10,800,000, because this will be the sales in the new policy, times 30%. Why do we multiply it by 30%? It is because 30% of customers will avail the cash discount. Therefore, the effect is an additional expense of 97,200 pesos. And then, finally, is we have decrease in accounts receivable investment of 250,000 pesos. But before we analyze this, let us first discuss how do we get the accounts receivable investment. Okay? So the first step is we need to compute for accounts receivable turnover. How can we find the accounts receivable turnover? It is by dividing 360 days, which will be our assumption for the problem, divided by 90 days. Given that the collection period is 90 days. So therefore, the accounts receivable turnover in the old policy is 4. Meanwhile, in the new policy, given that the collection period decreased to 75 days, therefore, we will also compute for accounts receivable turnover in the new policy. That's why we will divide 360 days divided by 75 days. The accounts receivable turnover in the new policy is 4.8. So as you can observe, in the new policy, accounts receivable turnover increased. It is because the collection period decreased to 75 days. It means that the company can collect cash sooner than the old policy. And then next is we will compute for average accounts receivable. So we can compute for average accounts receivable by dividing the sales in the old policy divided by accounts receivable in the old policy. So that will be 10 million pesos divided by 4. Therefore, the average accounts receivable is 2,500,000 pesos in the old policy. Meanwhile, in the new policy, the average accounts receivable is the sales in the new policy divided by accounts receivable turnover in the new policy. So that will be 10,800,000 pesos divided by 4.8. Therefore, the average accounts receivable in the new policy is 2,250,000 pesos. So as you can observe, the average accounts receivable decreased from 2,500,000 to 2,250,000 pesos. So there has been a decrease in investment in accounts receivable. This is favorable. This is because if the investment in accounts receivable is lower, it means that the company is able to collect cash sooner than the old policy. This is important given that the 250,000 pesos can be used by the company to invest or to use 250,000 pesos for other investments that will yield return. So that's why, going back to our discussion a while back, 250,000 pesos which is the decrease in average accounts receivable, we will multiply this by 10. Therefore, the net benefit of this is 25,000 pesos. So when we combine all of them, so 160,000 pesos plus 25,000 pesos minus 97,200. So in conclusion, there is a net benefit from offering a cash discount worth 87,800 pesos. What is the conclusion? The conclusion here is simple corporation should offer a cash discount because there is a net benefit of 87,800 pesos.